So what else could possibly be out there that we haven't run into?
That's a good question.
Thanks. I wrote it.
The motorcycle thing, obviously. That was a huge mistake. I should be in my Harley gear right now. The only thing I guess I can see going forward that could cause conflict between us is probably the stuff that has done it before, which is me not being able to keep my mouth shut. I'm trying very hard to be better about that. And the most recent incident has definitely taught me some lessons.
About my mouth?
About my mouth.
And how big it is?
How it should be open or closed. When and where it's okay to say the things that I think. But when I do things or say things that hurt not just me, but 14 other people who rely on Penny Arcade for their livelihood, because I say something dumb to make somebody mad, that I can see possibly happening again. I hope it doesn't, but that I know who I am.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. For me, like, I think doing Australia and then doing this like a month later, I think that it's like, in your mind, imagine that there is a bar, and that bar represents like my energon. And I want you to imagine that there is no energon in the bar to use to live or to be a person. But even as I say that, I mean, this is actually going pretty good. I'm having a really good time. Maybe I like it. If I was going to go somewhere and be who I am, maybe that's not such a bad job. Maybe I could do that. You know what I mean? My fear would be that there would be some threshold where what I said before would actually be true.
All right, actually, this leads me perfectly to my next question, which is that we're doing 3 shows a year right now.
Yeah.
I've publicly said that I think we have the capacity to do 4. Between that.
Okay, hold on. We heard 5. Is that not?
I don't know. Past, the TV, the comic, cosplay, the quote-unquote empire. Like, when do you think is the time to throw in the towel? Like, when is enough, both in capacity and then long term?
Well, I don't know what you mean by throwing the towel. Like, there'll always be PAXs, whether or not Jerry and I go to them. Right? I mean, do you mean like us quitting Penny Arcade? Do you mean us, like, I don't know.
I guess first capacity in terms of what you were capable of doing in a year, and then long term. When I say long term, I mean you saying, I'm done.
I think I can probably do 4 a year. It's difficult, especially with one of them being in Australia.
But I know that the time frame this year
timing was
really fucked up. Like it was 35 days ago when we were over there.
I think I can do 4 a year, and I think I can probably do that for the foreseeable future. Maybe another 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Like, at some point we're gonna have to start. At some point Jerry and I won't go to every PAX. We just can't.
This is a real PAX, so we have to obviously.
But I don't know when that's going to be.
You'll be in your mid-40s by then.
Probably, yeah.
All right.
If time continues to function in the past.
All right. So I know that we struggle with this a lot, but a lot of people think of you two as role models. Do you even want that responsibility, or do you think you can even escape it?
I don't think we can escape it because we don't have any choice in it. Like, people decide who their role models are, regardless of whether or not that person wants to be one or not. I don't think that we're especially good role models. I think that as we've gotten older, we've tried to be better. But maybe parts of us are good, like I think if people donate to Child's Play or if people...
Like the New York Strip.
Yeah. I think there are chunks of us that are worth trying to emulate.
Jowl or haunch.
I'm super proud, it makes me very happy when people say that I inspire them to draw, or
a lot of people seem to find use in the fact that we're fairly direct when it comes to the fact that we have, relatively serious psychological issues. And for some reason, people don't talk about it for whatever reason, presumably because they would be ashamed and thought of in a radically different way. I mean, I understand why people don't talk about it, but I think we provided some kind of a service with that,
Yeah, I would say that
don't emulate our mandibles.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because what I don't think a lot of people realize, and it's so silly to not realize this, but you guys are human beings. You have flaws. And you have a lot of really great components as well. And that role model responsibility has just been really fascinating to watch from my side, just because I know you guys struggle with that a lot because you feel that weight, you feel that burden.
Yeah, I mean, we started doing Penny Arcade, at least in part because we didn't see, because the sort of media that existed at that time didn't communicate what we felt was our experience. Right.
Yeah.
But
now we're talking about our experience, but Penny Arcade has gotten so big that we could never be what everybody wants us to be. Like, there's so many different ideals out there, and there's so many different things that people want from us or expect from us. We could never supply that to everyone.
Yeah, and I think that's the part. If someone is going to find something in this continuum that is useful to emulate, it's that when you do not see yourself represented, you must represent yourself. I think that is the takeaway. And even if we tried to do it, we would do it wrong, and it would be false. You know what I mean?
All right, I have one last question for you, and don't worry, it's I promise you.
It's the final boss.
We'll end with a real softball here, and then we'll open it up to Q&A, so we have about 20 minutes left. But we've literally been around the world together, and I want to know, what is the most memorable moment that you guys have had, like all of us together?
Well, we should actually do this for a while because we've been together for a super long time. Okay, so let me tell you this awesome story about Las Vegas Comic-Con. So Las Vegas Comic-Con is the absolute worst convention in the universe. In the fucking universe. We gave away more shirts than we sold at this show. Whatever. It's like, don't worry about me. But, God damn it. And so, but it got to the point where it's like you can't take the con seriously anymore because it's not anything like what people would call a convention.
Yeah, there were more exhibitors than there were attendees.
It's true. Yeah, right.
Actual stat.
But there was a point, like when we were tearing the booth down, where we just fucking lost it. And there was a point where we were hauling a lot of this stuff out, and then Robert stole a bike. He stole a bicycle that had this sort of like a little pallet on the back that you could carry things in, but we were also super drunk. And because it's really easy to get drunk in Las Vegas. It just is. It's one of the taps is rum. So at one point he was super drunk and he wanted to go to the bathroom, but he didn't want anyone to steal the bike that he had stolen. So he rode the bike into the bathroom, and then he peed from the bike. We got back this stolen bike out.
That was
No, there's another totally awesome story.
Mine is actually from that same convention.
The story I was going to tell, so you go for it.
So it was a horrible convention, but at the time they had a place in Las Vegas called Quartz Bar, which is not there anymore. It was part of the Star Trek experience, right?
Latin,
We had some people come up to us from Quartz Bar who worked there, and they gave us passes, and they said, "Listen, everybody down there is a huge Penny Arcade fan. If you come down to Quartz Bar, we will treat you right."
remember Paul?
Oh yeah, Paul, the Klingon. And so we went down there. We did the Star Trek experience, which is like this little ride that they do, which is actually super cool. And then when you come off the ride, you are in a perfect recreation of Quartz Bar with actual people in costume, Klingons, Romulans, like serving them. And they sat us down at this big, huge table, everyone from Penny Arcade, and they just started bringing drinks. And they were not, I'm not talking about drinks, I'm talking about something called the Warp Core Breach. A fishbowl full of how many different kinds of liquor? 7, thank you, honey. And straws.
And dry ice.
And dry ice, so it's bubbling. And I have the best picture of Robert with 20 straws in his mouth. With the smoke coming out.
Oh, see, and my story is actually the sequel to that story.
Go ahead.
So we get out of this place. And it is apocalyptic. Like, it is one of those nights where it's like it all seemed like such a good idea. It turns out that when you do not pay for drinks, because they won't let you,
And they don't bring you food.
you get really drunk. And so you make a situation where you are walking out of the thing trying your best to be the stripes in the middle of the highway in the hall. Like trying to go right down the middle, and you don't succeed. You don't do well at this mini game. You in fact fail at it. And then you might be in a situation where you were waiting for a cab out front of the hotel. Do you remember this? Yeah. So where you were drunk, but you were not as drunk as your business manager. And then you berate him, and you say, "Robert Kuu, you're supposed to be here representing my brand." And then what happens next is so incredibly baller. What he does is he stands stock upright, bam, perfect straight line, reaches with a single fluid motion into the coat, pulls out a business card, and hands it to me and says, "Hello, I'm Robert Kuu."
I was more asking along the lines of like, impactful moments. We shared.
Oh no, you fucked this up, son. You started this thing, we're gonna finish it. So what else do we have? What other ordnance can we load into the can?
Kuu is pretty good. Kuu has the ability to fall asleep anywhere at any time. So I remember when we still just had my apartment, and we didn't have an office or anything. We would come over to play Soul Calibur and stuff like that, and we'd have a meeting or whatever, and then you would just sit down on the couch and go to sleep. And I thought it was the weirdest thing because we had just met, and I'm super impressed with this guy. He's like really knows his business stuff, and we're talking, and then you just go, all right.
That girlfriend and like your first date was like writing up a contract for each other?
Yes. Look, what was the first piece of advice I gave to both of you?
Define the relationship.
And words on paper.
He's not so? He's too good though, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's one that I remember that I think was supposed to stay in Vegas. That was one of the best stories.
Oh, that's yours.
That was mine.
Well, that's your story to tell. I don't care. It's not me.
Tell it.
It's also Kara's story.
If you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have said you were there.
I think that there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Can I please say it? I won't go into too many details. We went to, it was, Jerry, you couldn't make it, and so it was Robert and I, Kara and Amber.
This is a comic thing.
And we went down to Las Vegas for the National Cartoonist Society Awards because it was the first year that they decided to include webcomics as a category, and there was a chance that we could win like a prize. And so we went down and went to the dinner. We were just there for the weekend. We did not win the webcomics award.
And I think it's important to note that we were pretty bummed out.
We were very bummed out.
Like I know we're like, oh, we're not in the comics industry and whatever. We're in the video game industry, but like, we went down. I was like, this would
Secretly, we were definitely hoping to come away with a prize. And we afterwards, we were bummed. And Robert knew that I was bummed. And he goes, what do you want to do? And there are things that I had never done. And one of them was go to a strip club. And so I said to Robert, I would like to do this thing. I've never done it before. Please make it happen. And Robert's superpower is that he can make anything happen and he can command any situation. Like, doesn't matter if he's ever done it before, doesn't matter if he's done it a million times, like he just will take you to do something and it will be the best experience you've ever had doing this thing.
He's legendary for his bachelor parties.
Yes.
People seek him out.
He
for this
plans
process.
these events beautifully. And so he took us to a place called the Spearmint Rhino. And got something called bottle service. And I don't drink. Like I don't. Usually I have maybe 1 or 2 drinks a year.
Like water.
I can drink water. I drink fluids because otherwise you get dehydrated. But I don't drink alcohol. I don't like it. So we sat down and some drinks came. It was vodka and cranberry. It was very weird. Like I'd never been in this situation before. There are women around. They don't have any clothes on, and I was super nervous. So I take a sip of my drink and I set it down. And Robert goes, you have to drink all of that right now, or this is going to be really fucking weird. And so I was like, really? It was yes. And so I downed it, and I had the best night. Pretty awesome.
all right, let's leave it at that. So that was an incredible night that I had with you in Vegas. I had a really great night with you in New York.
Oh, that was fucking.
When we went to the Time 100 thing.
Yeah, that was insane. For some reason, you couldn't come to that.
Yeah.
I could not try the Time 100.
Child.
Yeah, kid. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen anything like it. Oh, no, don't worry. No, I'll let you know.
It's
Yeah, it's just,
Horror.
you have to unpack it. It's like origami. So, I have never seen anything like this. Where it was like a spectator sport watching women try to woo Robert.
Oh, no. Going into this Time 100 room and like literally seeing. So there was a dinner when Mike and Jerry won as part of the 100 most influential people of 2010 or something like that. And so all the people that won were invited to this dinner and this gala, and we go in and
Taylor Swift was there.
yeah, no, literally Taylor Swift's there.
Prince was there.
Prince was there.
Sarah Palin was there.
Sarah Palin was there. I mean, like, it was crazy. I mean, Clinton spoke.
Bill
Clinton spoke. I mean, it was nuts.
Not George P. Clinton.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great too.
And it's interesting because we've talked about this before, where like in environments like this, you guys are massive celebrities, but in the real world, you're just normal guys. But then when we get put into these scenarios where
you see people who are actually famous. Yeah.
You are
bullshit.
Absolute bullshit. I kept on getting asked if I was Dr. Kwan, the guy, and I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, he's another Asian person.
Yeah. And I asked around, it turns out he is the guy that is essentially going to
Cure cancer.
And it's like, no, sorry, I don't do that. I do something else.
I do something else that's just like,
don't worry about it. But yeah, I think that was just such an incredible experience.
Yeah. You're trying to stop it, but it's not going to happen. So the way that it goes, so it's like Brent and I are watching this happen. And it is incredible. It's like stars exploding. It has astronomical implications. And there is this woman who is very intensely interested specifically in Robert's penis. And she keeps trying to get all the way there. And she's not able to make it because Robert is solid armor. 100% AC like 26. And then, but apparently this is the story that he told me later, is that apparently they shared a cab back, and then she kept trying to tell the cabbie to take them to her house. And then Robert kept saying to go to his
All right,
hotel.
hold on, let's just tell the whole story. Okay, so we went to go, we all went, you guys went to Brenna, and some other folks from the publication decided to go out drinking. We went to that vodka bar that only spoke Russian there.
Yeah.
Had a really great time there.
So cool.
And then later, after that, we end up in some karaoke room with a bunch of
I sang a Paramore song.
with a bunch of Time magazine executives.
In the music business.
Yeah. And you see that footage in the episode.
Yeah.
Of the reality series. And then at that point in time, you leave. I do not know where you two go.
We went to get breakfast. We were dressed up to the nines.
Yeah, you were.
And we ended up eating breakfast at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, you fucking left. All right?
Listen, I want to get your way.
Well, thanks. So,
I also didn't want to get hurt.
So, anyway, I am about to leave, and I go hail a cab, and I guess this girl is there as well, right? She was in that room.
Presumably.
Yeah, and she jumps in the cab. All right?
In the cab or on the cab?
In the cab. And keep in mind, I had not seen you for an hour and a half or something like that. And, an hour and a half, and I was like, all right, take me over to Sheraton. And she's like, no, take us to New Jersey. So she takes us to Jersey. Like, she lived over in Jersey. I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. And she's like, no, let's go. I was like, no. And so this cab driver is like driving around Manhattan, not knowing where to go. And at some point, we have to just pass by our hotel, and I jump out of the cab. I roll out of the cab, and I shit you not, it's just you and Brett on the sidewalk. I remember getting out there, and I was like, you would not believe what has been happening.
It wasn't like she was like, listen, you're young, you don't understand. When you're older, you have to plan these things.
Something like that, yeah. I don't know, it was very complex.
Oh, it was actually packed.
All right, we have 5 minutes, which means there's really no time for questions. So if you want to tell more stories, like what else do we have?
I remember when you first met us, we were in the airport. I think we were flying to Texas. And it's cool. Well, it's not cool. It's hot, but it's not. And remember we were in the napkins.
Oh yeah, we were sitting in the
We were sitting
airport.
the concourse, right? And then Robert was like, "Okay, I want you to write down."
This is in 2004.
2004,
Yeah,
long time.
yeah. I want you to write down a number. This is your number to sell out. Sell completely out.
Like no more penny arcade. Someone else owns penny arcade. Someone else owns it all. What's the amount of money that it would take? And we each wrote numbers down on a napkin and gave them to Robert.
And then we flipped them over. And my number was very low.
That's true.
I don't remember what I wrote.
Well, I do remember, but I don't know whether contextually it will like make much sense. But it's, I mean, I think that you wrote $2 million.
What was the highest number I could think of? That's where it tops out for me.
Yeah, I think you wrote 4, or something like that. Yeah.
You have 12?
I don't know. Mine was higher.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop.
People probably don't know how close we were to being bought.
Oh yeah, you want to tell these stories?
How many times have we almost been bought?
I would say we get approached all the time, but
People always want it.
so let me tell you a story as far as first of all, those numbers, don't worry, we're never selling them. Like we've come together. To the point where, well, I'll tell that story after this, but there's a point where if someone offers you enough money, you essentially have to, as a responsibility for your family, to just say, all right, we kind of have to take that. And there were a number of companies,
Suitors, if you
number of
will.
suitors. I mean, it literally was rating. It was from Ziff Davis to News Corp to Viacom/MTV. Like a number of people approached us, and there was a company that that was like, all right, you know what? We're gonna offer you $25 million for your company. Right.
We were actually looking at houses.
Yeah,
That's how close to
and it's like,
doing
I mean, here's the thing. When someone offers you that sort of money, you're like, and trust me, we didn't have a lot of money at that time. So I mean, now we're like, okay, we have money of our own, so we don't ever need to sell out or anything like that.
We sold out to us.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember we were I was in New York. I was in New York and we were so close to getting that deal done, and essentially at the very last minute, we decided to go in a different direction, and that could have changed the course of history for everyone in this room. Like, it was insane. But then, I can tell you later, we had received a offer to. This was actually fairly not recently, but we had received an offer to again to sell the company, and it was much higher than that, and. At that time, Mike Carey and we've done well for ourselves. Money is a huge motivating factor for us. But at that point in time, it's really about the employees of Penny Arcade. I mean, that's who we like to take care of throughout the year. I mean, we love our fans, we love our employees. Like we really are a very large family when it comes to that. And so we just had a meeting and pretty much said, all right, this is on the table.
Yeah, this is what's up.
And even though, you're not like owners of the company, what we want to do is essentially take this money and split it up amongst everyone. And it would have been good money for everyone. It would have changed everyone's lives. And so we essentially just voted, and not a single person wanted to take it. Like everyone at Penny Arcade just wanted to continue doing what they were doing, and
they wanted to be Penny Arcade instead.
Yeah. Then when we realized that, you know what, we'll never sell.
Yeah.
If it's not for us, and
it's not for them,
then what's it for? So let's just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
That was like therapy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I thought